Hi, it's Mark Coopersmith, and welcome to part 2 of the Introduction to Customer Discovery. And in this video, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the types of problems that you're addressing and how to do it. Let's get started. As a starting point, and perhaps as a migration point from our part 1 video, we want to start to focus on the types of problems that we are solving and for whom. And this is where customer discovery comes into play, right? What problems do our customers have? We don't want to focus as much on the solutions that we have in mind. That's a hypothesis. I think my new, for example, pen is going to be a hit because it has a bunch of new features. Well, the key thing is why? What is it about your pen that solves a problem? In my instance, it might be, well, this particular pen has a gel ink and is very easy to write with. So if my customers write a lot, their hands are going to get tired and cramp. So the problem I'm addressing with this pen is customers getting tired writing or cramping hands. So that's where I would want to delve in and say, do customers really care about that problem? Let's take a look and see how we do that. So the first question that we want to ask is WIFM, right? WIFM, W-I-F-F-M, and it stands for what's in it for me. And one of the key questions that we always want to ask as a customer, but also if we're going to sell things to a customer, is what gets better for your stakeholder, for your customer, right? I want to know if I'm going to buy this pen, what's in it for me? Right? Will I have a better writing experience? Will my hands not cramp? Whatever else it is. So we want to focus on that, right? And this is where we want to say, aha, is there a benefit to this product versus the status quo, versus the alternatives that are out there right now? By the way, this particular pen I actually love for exactly that reason. It writes really smoothly. So that's why I'm a customer, right? I bought this pen and I'm a loyal customer because it writes so smoothly with a special gel ink. And I'll pay more for that pen as well. Okay, let's keep going. Now, we're going to focus on this concept that was popularized by a Harvard Business School professor named Clayton Christensen. And he's one of the fathers of kind of innovation theory and thinking when it comes to how especially big companies innovate. Now, we're going to take that concept and we're going to bring it down to small startups. And the concept that Clayton Christensen came up with is job to be done. And that is, when we buy a product, we hire the product to get a job done, right? We're paying for it, or it's a subscription if it's like a media streaming service or a music streaming service or something like that. We are hiring it to get a job done. So now we want to say, what's the job done that we're hiring the product to do? So let's take a look at this picture, right? It's a hole and a drill bit, which is attached to a drill. So what are our customers hiring our products to do here? Let's say in our case, we sell drill bits. What is the job to be done by a drill bit? To make a hole, right? So here's the next question that goes with that. Are we selling the drill bit, or are we selling the ability to make holes? Now, let's think about that a little bit deeper, because if we think we're in the drill bit business, there's only so much we can do. But if we're in the holes business, well, that's a whole other story. So let's focus on the problem that our customers want us to solve. Maybe there are new technologies that can solve that problem, for example. So the core value proposition, right? We talked about the job to be done. So why do customers pay for our product? That's the value proposition. Why do they pay this much money for our product? It's because our product does a good job addressing the job to be done. And it does so in a way and at a price that they are willing to pay for it, right? So the job to be done, making holes in this case. The drill bit or the drill costs X amount and it works, so we have a good value proposition. We're going to come back to this concept of value proposition when you're out talking to customers. Now, are there other solutions that might result in a similar outcome? Now let's step back and say we're not in the drill bit business. How else might we make holes in a piece of wood or in a piece of metal? Well, one of the things that we might think about would be lasers, for example. And as it turns out, there's a whole new industry that's emerging around laser drilling, especially through metals and with minerals, and in very high precision applications that are replacing traditional drill bits. So we want to think differently about the problem. As opposed to I need a better drill bit, it's how do I create a better hole faster, cheaper, with more precision? Now, when you think about your value proposition, is it reducing somebody's pain? Is it improving their gain, right? So do you solve a problem I have for me, or do you actually improve my solution, or is it a combination of both? And we're going to go into these, and they're a little bit of two sides of the same coin, so you'll see some relationships between them. But before we look at pain reduction or gain creation, let's also focus on the size, the scale of the customer problem that you're trying to solve. Is it a shark bite problem, right? A great white shark like this one? That's a big problem. Or is it a little mosquito problem? Now, mosquitoes and fleas and other bugs that bite us, that's a problem, but it's not a huge problem. So we want to think about big problems in big markets that people are actively looking to solve. Remember my definition of a customer. They have a problem, they're currently seeking a solution, and they're willing and able to pay in money, time, or something else. It could be in introducing us to new leads or opportunities, for example. So here are a few painkiller hypotheses where your solution reduces my pain. Maybe you end difficulties or challenges that I encounter, right? You make things easier for me to get something done. Or maybe I have a solution that it just isn't great, so you're going to fix that for me. Or perhaps I have losses. Maybe I have a process and 10% of all of the products that go through my assembly line end up defective. Well, what if you have a solution that could reduce that to 5%, right? Reduce my losses. That would be a big pain killer hypothesis. Make my customers feel better, wipe out negative social consequences. What if my father owns the manufacturing company where I'm responsible for the line, and if I can reduce the loss from 10% to 5%, my life at home or in the family will get much better. So that's a social consequence. Or maybe you could reduce risks as well. So think about some solutions. The job to be done is doing a better job reducing pain. We also have these gain creation value propositions. So the job to be done is addressed by the solution and improves something, right? Maybe it's faster, time, revenues. Maybe I make more money. Maybe people are willing to pay more for a product that is more precise. Maybe I just get positive emotions because I deliver something faster or better or in a way that creates goodwill, or that the product has better functional utility, meaning it just works better, right? So these are gain creators. And when you talk to your customers, you want to really investigate those types of things. And here are some of the hypotheses, and you can take a look at the slides in more detail, but you can create savings, you can improve the outcomes, you can make your customer's job or their life easier, and just have positive consequences overall. So there's some detail here on this slide if you want to go in more detail, but you get the idea now. So the next question I have is, are we talking about early users or mainstream users? And what I want to do is take a look at this chart called the innovation diffusion curve. And what the innovation diffusion curve does is it says we have at the early part of the market, when we look at them, what we call the early adopters and the innovators. Those are the people that will buy a product very early on. As you can see down here, these are customers that want innovations and technology and performance, and they're willing to take risk. So they will be the first people to buy that new technology, that new car, the new electric car, the next generation iPhone or something like that. Then we have to cross over this thing called the chasm. I'll come back to that in just a second. Into the early majority. So now we're into the mass market, right? So who are people that will still buy the product early in its life cycle, but they want to make sure that other people have had a chance to test it out for them. And then we move into the rest of the mainstream. Now, there's a video, I'm not going to play it right now, but I want you to take a look at this, of a guy dancing at a music concert. And we're going to come back to this when we talk about how we go to market. And in particular, how we move from the innovators and the early adopters over this chasm, right? This difficult, a chasm is a big valley right in the middle. You have to cross over, you have to jump it or take a bridge or cross over it to get into the main market. So that's where we're going to take a look at how we do that. But we want to start, when we think about where we go to market, we want to start with the innovators and the early adopters. So now we get to the big question. What's your customer discovery plan? How do you learn about these people? You have an idea for a solution. You have a hypothesis that your solution is either a pain reducer or a gain creator. Now you have to go out and talk to potential customers, those early adopters, and learn about them. Now, in your reading, there's a reading by Diana Kander, who wrote a novel called All in Startup, which is all about launching new ideas and talking to your customers. And at the very end of that novel, and Diana's a friend of mine, she put together 3 or 4 pages of the best tips to do a good job in talking to customers. So take a look at that and read that in some detail. And I've highlighted just a few of them here in single bullet points, and 3 or 4 things that you want to keep in mind. And then your Berkeley teacher is going to open this up, and you're going to have a conversation in the classroom with the types of questions you want to ask. You want to sit down with people or do it via video where you can. You want to ask open-ended questions. Tell me about the last time you sat down to write maybe a letter. Tell me the pen that you used. How did you think about that? Did you enjoy the experience? What did you like about it? What didn't you like? You want to ask open-ended questions that can't just be answered with a yes or a no. So one of the questions I just asked, did you enjoy the experience? That's not a great customer discovery question unless you follow it up with a how so? Tell me more. And there's a number of key things you do to listen to your potential customers. And each of our teams is going to get out of the classroom and have conversations with their customers around the problem that they are looking to solve. That's it for now. Take a look at the Diana Kander handout. Hold on, I'll go back to it right now. On customer discovery. If you want more information on how to approach potential customers, there's an ebook also in Canvas that you can take a look at that gives you lots of examples, and it gives you scripts. And in fact, in class, you're going to spend some time coming up with questions and practicing model interviews. That's it for now. Good luck with customer discovery.